because it's the silly, stupid, fascinating, weird, wonderful. They're my people, and more often than not, they're the geeky people as well.
But this real sense that what you do as you emerge out of Middle Earth in your real life is you hope, because Tolkien's so good at capturing that.
I mentioned Betamax. For anybody older, that's the old version of a video cassette. A video cassette is an old version of a DVD. A DVD is not set with the cloud.
And I said, I'm not happy. I've got bits wrong here. And she said, yeah, but that's all part of the learning process. That's all part of that makes it unique to you. That those kind of imperfections within it.
Welcome once again to another episode of Faith in Geekery. We are the onion chutney of live stream and podcasts. We are the little treat on the side of the normal selection of cheese selection that lifts, that brings delight and excitement. But be careful not to dribble it down a white top, or else you might make a mess of yourself. My name is Mark, and this is
Becca.
And tonight we are also joined by
Sim.
And you don't have to say it in those sort of voices.
Lizzie.
Hi,
and I
don't know why somebody had put the StreamYard thing up, but we are on StreamYard.
We are on StreamYard.
And also an immediate welcome
Lydia.
from Lydia as well. But yes, good evening, everybody. Good evening. A special welcome to Lizzie, who is joining us, who will be talking. Oh, and again, Lizzie's here saying, yay, Lizzie. You have a fan there, Lizzie, so that's fantastic. And we'll be talking a little bit later about your interest that you'll be bringing to share with us. But we start, as ever, with what geekiness have we been up to? Would anyone like to begin?
I can.
I was about to say we don't have to. We could just go home if you like.
Let's just not talk about geekiness tonight.
For lots of reasons, which will become apparent in the fullness of time, which is a soup. I've been doing a lot of world building recently and writing, and it just so happens that Brandon Sanderson, who writes The Wheel of Time, actually does a online webinar every single year on world building and writing. So while I've been working, I have on this screen over here Brandon Sanderson just slowly going through years of lectures in my ears, which has been really lovely.
Nice.
Oh, fantastic.
I have been doing assignments. Part of the role-playing community I'm in is really embedded in a whole world that's been created, and there's lessons that you can do to demonstrate knowledge of this fabricated world and various tests and all the rest of it. So I managed to submit six separate lessons last week. 2 of them were dances, written role play dances. So I was quite proud of myself. That is quite.
I do love the concept of fictional non-fiction.
Like
when you get a DK or Star Wars, or
yeah, exactly. And it's just and to not know it, there's a little bit of not quite shunning, but you really should know that. All right, it's not real. I'm not sure I should. There is no should in this, but to make the role play more immersive, it is helpful for me to throw in a random non-real thing into a sentence. So yeah.
Very good. We've got a message from Jen, one of the core team, saying played Escape the Dark Castle at the weekend. I don't know what Escape the Dark Castle is.
And did she get out? I mean, we need more of an update, Jen.
Oh, is it like an escape the room sort of thing?
I don't know. She might still be in there. That's why she's not here.
She's still stuck in that dark castle.
Oh, yeah. Is she hiding there? Lizzie, did you share something just before we went live?
So we were visiting a farm for a bit of a Mother's Day out at the weekend. And I have, towards the end of a crochet project, and in fact I had some yarn arrive today for another project, but I couldn't resist this giant ball of alpaca yarn. Wow. It's like even chunkier than the super chunky stuff you get in the shops.
Nice.
So I'm just attempting to do a tension swatch to try and work out what on earth sort of tension I'm going to get out of this.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic.
because
What
it's
is it?
hand
What
spun.
is it? What is it like? Is it soft? Is it?
It's very, very soft. It sort of resembles dreadlocks, but very, very silky soft. And the sort of the thickness of it varies quite a lot because it's hand spun, and you can tell it is genuine farm alpaca yarn because it still has bits of hay in actually.
And for those on podcast, when you lift up this is the size of your head, if not bigger, isn't it? It is
It's
massive.
a bit smaller than that because it's
Oh,
close
is it?
to the
Okay.
camera. But
Oh.
it's certainly
Mark.
you need
Sorry.
2 hands to get around it.
But
Certainly.
I was trying to. Oh wow, near and far away. Thank you. No, but do you know what I mean? It is a large. Do you know what I mean? It's not just like, oh, that's a little bit bigger. That is, tremendously bigger
Chunky.
than chunky. What I've been up to, I've written down on here. I've been doing sound desks. I went to chat to a church about live streaming, and then I got sidetracked about their sound desk because it wasn't set up that well. And then I was sorting out the loop system that wasn't set up that well. So I was there for a lot of the time just sorting out sound desks. But then I have also been musing about cosplay, possibly for a Comic-Con later in the year, maybe, not sure, or just general, as well as you said about Tim about world building. There's somebody who I've just started to follow on Threads who was needing some sound effects for brains in jars for TTRPG. And he was like, I need some vocals, and so I had a few minutes just before we went live just to kind of create some vocals for them.
Can we have a demonstration, please, Mark?
Well, one of them was just like, where's my legs? I can't feel my legs. I want to go for a walk.
I was wondering what, there was 2 sides of it I was looking at. It was either going to be I'm in a jar, where's my arms? Or the other side of it being just the...
I did 3. That was one of them. The other one was, there is something important, I'm sure I need to remember, but what is it? And is it about my child? Have I got a child?
Oh, that's creepy.
Oh, and then the other one was just me going, doopy doo, dooey dooby doo, doopy doopy doo. Because why not? Anyway, so that was me. And,
I think that's a question for Discord, isn't it? If you were a brain in a jar, what would your inner monologue be?
It probably entirely depends on the situation, because when my philosophy degree we talked about brains in a vat a lot, but it wasn't imagining that you had any idea that you were in a jar. It was like, how do we know we are not brains in jars being fed stimulation from the outside?
Oh, very interesting.
There was a the series I'm going to talk about is not available on anywhere right now because of licenses expiring. The Lovecraft mysteries, Lovecraft Investigations on BBC Sounds. They had a part of the season, spoilers, although it's based on quite well-known and well-read about Lovecraftian stories. There is a guy who is a head in a jar, and he's got a duplicate next to him who's exactly looks like him, and he doesn't realise that he's actually in a jar until we see him in a jar.
Interesting.
I mean, as sinister as it could be, I just keep on thinking about Futurama with heads in jars and brains in jars, and it just makes me chuckle.
Well, one of my favourite series by Anne McCaffrey was the ship Who Sang and all the other series that followed. But a girl gets really ill, and the only option is to transport her brain into a ship, and suddenly she can experience the whole universe. And her brain and her senses are the ship's mechanics. It's really
that reminds me of a
really
Doctor Who
liberating.
episode, but I'm sure we haven't got time for it.
There's also an X-Men character called No Girl who is just a brain in a jar, and that
I feel there's a whole episode here, isn't there?
brains in jars.
Brains in jars.
That's the Halloween special that we were.
I'll write that down.
Write it down for the list. Right, should we move on to geeky news?
This is the Faith and Geekery news, broadcast to your home and around the world.
Oh my gosh. I realised that I have not even uploaded these yet. That is an absolute
So
worry,
back to brains in jars.
While you do that, I can come in with some hot off the press, fresh geeky news. Now You See Me, that franchise about magicians.
Ooh, yeah.
They've just announced the title for the 3rd installment. And it's not now you see me with the E replaced with a 3. It's now you see me, now you don't. However, it is April Fool's Day, so who knows if that's actually true.
Yes. I'm just waiting for these things to process, and then we'll be with you.
I can come with some more geeky news.
It's even more confusing than it used to be, April Fools, because you've got the noon cut-off. But then, with everything being internet-based now, people in different time zones have noon at different times, so you just don't know where you are all day.
Exactly.
Which is
Just don't know.
Well, the geeky news is a little bit themed on... Oh, here we go. So we start off with, because I thought I'd better mention it, it's got a whole slide to itself, is about the MCU Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday cast, with quite a lot of people on. I've just put up a picture of various characters from it. I may not even think that's all of the characters either. At least this is the lineup of the director's chairs that was kind of announced last week, which went over quite some time, and it's quite interesting, the characters, especially as we've kind of got the original X-Men lineup, or some of the original X-Men lineup, as well as the Fantastic Four kind of characters from yet to be seen, as well as some of the others, but there are still some gaps. But obviously there's some of the Thunderbolts as well. So it's interesting to see exactly how it's going to pan out, and exactly if this is going to be the full list or if there's going to be extras popping in here and there. It'll be quite interesting. The next thing to go into is going to be about April Fools as well, because there has been such a plethora of things. I've just kind of thrown everything I found over the last half a day or so, especially kind of talking about Lizzie, about saying about the noon cut-off. I had to be really careful with my son. My son decided to throw something down the stairs at me and go, "April Fools!" And I was like, mate, that was just like nearly assault rather than just anything else. That wasn't an April Fools. And I said, and it stopped at lunchtime, and then I stopped myself because when I was at primary school, we used to have National Trip Up Day from the afternoon onwards, and I thought, I'm not going to introduce that to my 10-year-old, and I don't think it ever became a thing anyway. But we've got so many things on here. We've got Spider-Man Brand New Day, which I believe is actually real, but it's the Tom Holland thing. Yes.
See, I think they're missing a trick, because every other previous one had home in the title in some capacity. So I think it's not going to be called Brand New Day. I think it's going to be called Brand New Home.
That would make sense. Right, there is Seabrooks Crisps supporting a school. There is a Greg's Outlet discount store in Leeds. And they're kind of going, I don't know if that's true or not. And I think this is what I'm going to mention in a second. Nick Frost will play Hagrid in HBO Harry Potter series. I think that's a real one. There is a Curry's kind of a D chicken boning wing machine. You know, we can tell that's fake. A Slim Knee, like a Jimny 4x4 car, but with 2 wheels. It looks weird. Terry's Mint toothpaste. From our Discord, because I asked the question on there. I think Tom had mentioned about the Warhammer stands and the accessories on the Warhammer stands, because they're famous for their kind of their little rock piles and skulls and things. So they're just announcing that as a thing on its own. There is Spray on Mud for Adventure Bike Riders Disney doing a Star Trek MCU crossover. There's the Nintendo Switch 2 kind of release thing happening tomorrow, maybe, or happening very shortly anyway. There is a Yorkshire Pudding cereal. There is Black Mirror Series 7. The Range have decided to kind of share their Christmas, put out their Christmas decorations early. I think we know what that is. The chewing gum Cross and Blackwell tomato flavour, a monument to Perrin sauce, Yorkshire tea in a microwavable pouch, a defarting Oddballs pair of boxes. Then there's also water being suggested by air fryers to kind of you heat your water in the air fryer to get a fresher taste. The thing is that I don't mind when friends and family and kind of people that you know might do an April Fool's. My problem is when it's a company where I'm going, I don't know if you're telling the truth or not, or rather, there are times when I just kind of go, now I just don't trust you anymore.
So
see, the most fun ones I think are the ones where it's really obvious, like Snag Tight's one. They actually use that April Fool's hashtag, so that you can feel certain. I think for a lot of neurodivergent people, it can be quite an unpleasant and confusing day, but there are some people who do it really well, so it is purely fun and it's clear from the start. But
speaking of people doing it really well, Lydia had actually did the I invented nap church and posted about it at work. I did see that, Lydia, and it was very funny. I should just mention there's two more things on here, by the way. One is a picture from James Gunn showing the new star of Supergirl, reading Supergirl magazine, and there's also I didn't catch her name, but thank you. Say that again.
Millie Adcock.
Fantastic.
He was in House of the Dragon.
Fantastic, thank you. And then finally, the Doctor Who premiere. It's interesting that it has what's her name, Michelle Gomez and Adjo Adelola, which is Thingy's mum in the series, Martha's mum, and obviously Missy. And I was just like, oh, are they just there because it's the Doctor Who franchise, or are they there because they may actually have a presence in the new series, which would be interesting. But I don't exactly know how that would be canon if it was all to fall in together. But sorry, Lizzie, as you were saying, and it's a bit weird at April Fools. They're going, well, what is real, what is genuine, what isn't, and actually
there was a really wholesome one last year that it's the 1 year anniversary of, so I think we can talk about it.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. There's a channel called Smosh, which is an old YouTube channel, does lots of comedy stuff and sketches and stuff, and there's two performers on it who announced last year on April Fool's that they got married. And everyone was like, it's been like a joke in the community, oh, they're definitely together, let's just ship them together. And they went, oh, we got married. And they got photographs done of it. They were really professional, and they weren't on the channel for ages. People were like, oh, maybe. And it turns out Reddit was going mad for it. They were like going back through old episodes and trying to like find like hints about things. And it turns out they did actually get married last year on April Fool's Day, and announced it. And
but did they announce it today?
No, they announced it last year on April Fool's Day.
Yeah, but their anniversary. They're like,
they did a week later. They have their own podcast. Where they started the episode with them talking about it, and then it transitioned to two other cast members coming in and parodying the two normal presenters. And then the following one is where they went, so we actually did get married, and here's what happened and everything. And when you go back through old episodes, all the fans do massive supercuts of it. And there's a really nice supercut of like people pointing out saying, oh, don't say that. Oh, where's your ring? Because they used to say they put all their wedding rings on chains just so they don't like interact with stuff. And it was just a really lovely one.
That is lovely.
And so I think, folks, that is the end of Geeky News.
Yay.
And then I do believe now we had the sound effect of that, don't we? And do I do the same as well? I can't remember. And I really need to label these quiz intros as well, because one of them is the genuine one and one is the reworked one. And I'm going to opt for the reworked one and see if this is the correct one. Oh, now for the quiz.
I got questions. The quiz.
Phew, that was the
Make that note now.
Yes.
Well, I briefly intro us all to the quiz, brought to you by Faith Geekery and me, Tim. Hi.
Hello, Tim.
So we're going to do the normal pattern of 5-question quiz. 80% of the questions that will be asked will be multiple choice. So there is that. Because I'm
80%.
80% of the
of
questions.
5 questions.
4.
Yes.
That's not what.
Yeah.
4 questions with multiple choice, 1 won't.
Right. Okay, but 80% of 5 is not 4,
isn't it?
No, it's. Is it not? No, it is. You're right. Sorry,
1/5.
you are. Yeah, you are right. Sorry. It's been a long day.
It's a long day, people. Don't worry.
You're looking for maths geeks. You've come to the wrong place.
I'm going to go to bed. Good night.
And on that note,
so write down your answers to the questions. The answers will be A, B, C, or D to make it a bit easier for people. I will read the question out twice, and we'll go through all the questions, and then at the end, I will go through the answers. And that's just basically going to be it. We're going to have a nice quiet day. Because I'm here live, I can actually arbitrate some questions we might be confused about.
No,
like
you
in
need
previous
to,
episodes.
You need to pause, and you need to just make a face.
I will pause and make a face, but I'll also arbitrate any questions of do we get multiple points here?
Oh, okay.
So, or if there's any complaints from those in the gallery, Mark and Becca.
No idea.
I watch the old episodes. I see the comments. Anyway.
I'm glad someone does.
At least there's someone out there.
That all said,
Good.
Pens, paper,
Right.
pencils at the ready, any form you have, with question number 1. Which of the following gaming news stories were revealed to be April Fool's Day pranks in years gone by?
Oh, nice. Okay.
A. The iPlay console by Apple. B. Super Mario Brothers movie DLC for Mario games. C. The Elgato Cam Link Retro, a device to connect retro video cameras to your PC for that retro vintage style. And D. PlayStation, the board game. So that question again. Which of the following game news stories from years gone by were revealed to be April Fool's Day pranks? A. The iPlay console from Apple. B. Super Mario Bros. Movie DLC voices for Mario games. C. The Elgato Cam Link Retro, a device to connect retro video cameras to your PC for that retro vintage style. And D. PlayStation, the board game.
Okay.
I think I've got my answer.
Yeah. Tim, you are not posing properly. You just drank a cup of tea.
It's not tea, it is water. I need to actually lubricate for these questions. Normally I can do it, I don't have to do it live, but I don't have a lever.
Okay. That's
Question
true.
number 2. Which of the following are spin-off games of the Sims franchise? A.
Ooh.
The Sims Bustin' Out. B. The Herbs Sims in the City. C. The Sims 2 Castaway. Or D. The Sims Medieval. Which of the following games are spin-off games of The Sims? A. The Sims Bustin' Out. B. The Herbs Sims in the City. C. The Sims 2 Castaway. And D. The Sims Medieval.
If you want Tim looking, there you go. There's a picture of Tim pausing.
Thank you. I feel better now.
Oh, there you go, Tim. Thank you for doing that. It puts us all at ease.
I love that you have like loads of photos of me just posing.
It's just that one. It's just
his wallpaper. That's what he has
one.
all the time. They're on his phone as well.
It's for my tattoo.
I love it. I love it. Question number 3. Which of the following are expansion packs for a Sims game? Which of the following are expansion packs for a Sims game? A. Making Magic. B. Bon Voyage. C. University Life. And D. Cottage Living. That question again. Which of the following are expansion packs for a Sims game? A. Making Magic. B. Bon Voyage. C. University Life. And D. Cottage Living.
Okay.
Lydia is asking, I'm doing a confuse. Was that last question one with more than one answer? I feel as if we can't really answer that without it being kind of.
In past
Tim's
experience,
Shelby's just put.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tim has had multiple answers.
Oh,
but still only gives us 1 point.
Let's move on. Let's move on. I just have a sneaky suspicion tonight.
Question number 4. What connects the following people? Beth Tweedle, English gymnast. Randy Orton, WWE wrestler. Chris Evans, radio presenter and former car show host. And His Serene Highness Otto von Bismarck. I knew I was going to laugh at that. That question again. What connects the following people? Beth Tweedle, the English gymnast. Randy Orton, the WWE wrestler. Chris Evans, the radio presenter and former car TV show host. And His Serene Highness Otto von Bismarck, the first Chancellor of Germany. I knew if I put that name in, I was going to laugh at it. I knew what was going to happen. But what connects them?
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Pause a sec, Tim. Oh my gosh. Right. I'm trying to work out if it's either something with Sims, something to do with April Fools, or just something random.
Beth Tweedle, Randy Orton, Chris Evans, Otto von Bismarck.
No idea. Okay.
And finally, question number 5. What is the most popular name of a guest on Faith and Geekery?
Ooh.
A. Tim. B. Tim. C. Tim. Or D. Tim. That question again. What is the most popular name of a guest on Faith and Geekery? A. Tim. B. Tim. C. Tim. Or D. Tim.
Just rewriting my answers now, by the way.
Do we have your answers ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Question 1. Which of the following gaming news stories were revealed to be April's Fool Day pranks? Guess what, people? All of them were correct.
Yeah.
And that's also the answer for my number 2 and number 5.
Well, here's the thing. If you answered all of them, you will get a point for each one. So you can have 4 points for that. Or if you answered at least one, you have a correct point. Question number 2. Which of the following are spin-off games of The Sims?
All of them.
They are!
Jolly good.
Sims 2 Castaway was hilarious. It was like a proper survival game, but you still had to like construct everything. Medieval is the only one that got an expansion pack from it, which included pirates and something else. Anyway, question number 3. Which of the following are expansion packs for Sims games?
All of them.
Yes! And fun fact, it's an expansion pack from each of the mainline games. So Making Magic was the last expansion pack for Sims. Bon Voyage, I think, was the second or third one for Sims 2. University Life was one of the later ones. And Cottage Living.
I love Cottage Living.
Where I think you get a horse.
Stables.
Horses, cows, llamas, chickens.
Yeah.
There we go.
It is lovely.
Question number 4. What connects the following people? Beth Tweedle, Randy Orton, Chris Evans, Otto von Bismarck. It's their birthday.
Oh dear.
Of course.
I put car enthusiasts.
I put Diary of a Call Girl.
Well, that was my initial thing of Billy Piper. Then it was the Otto von Bismarck. I was like,
yeah,
no
that's
idea.
why I stretched it to Diary of a Call Girl.
Yeah, it's all their birthday today. And finally, what's the most popular name of a guest on Faith and Geekery? It's Tim.
A, B,
all
C,
of them.
D. All of them. Oh. Well, I scored surprisingly well,
Yeah.
therefore.
I've got 16 out of 5.
This is amazing.
It's the first time ever.
Mark, you can take that post-it note, put it next to the picture of my face, and for future quizzes, go.
Where are you going to put the tattoo?
I was joking. It's not really. I don't really agree with
I think
tattoos.
like a nice neck
It's really
tattoo.
disappointing.
A nice neck tattoo.
You could
that
have
would
it, and then you'd look like what's his name in Chikers with 2 heads.
Oh, on my neck, like
yeah.
Zaphod Beeblebrock.
Zaphod Beeblebrox.
Did someone say cows?
And if you feed them the right stuff, they make different flavored milk.
Oh.
I
did
had a
not
guy
know
at
that.
school that was 100% convinced that brown cows produce chocolate milk, and if you knocked it over, you got a chocolate milkshake.
Oh dear.
Did you convince him of that, Tim?
No, we convinced him there were 2 popes. One of the world and one of Sleaford.
If we were talking there were two popes in the Middle Ages, but neither of them was in Sleaford.
One of them was like he went basically retired, didn't he? At one point, he was told he couldn't be pope. He went away, then came back to be pope, and then went away again and said he was pope, but he was only pope to his sheep. I think's the story.
We're bringing all the up-to-date goss on.
All of it.
I mean, this is up-to-date goss for the church.
This is where you come. Maybe not for maths, but for every other trivial bit of fact that's out there.
So yeah, there you go, everyone. Give us your comment. Let us know in the Discord. Links are around, and in the show notes of the podcast. Let us know what your score was. And with that, that's the quiz.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tim, once again for sharing and leading us in our quiz. And thank you. It's been really nice to actually have you in person. Becca, never again. No. Jokes. We are going to move on now and over to Lizzie's subject. And there may have been a little bit of a hint in the quiz, as well as our title, about games, about Sims in particular.
It was quite an interesting quiz, because my relationship with The Sims is sort of like the two ends. Because I played it when it first, because The Sims is, unusually for a game, 25 years old, the franchise. I played the first one when it first came out when I was a teenager, though. Our computer struggled with it performance-wise. I found it a bit addictive. I went to university and sort of moved on. And then in 2020, when we were all spending our time a bit differently, I got the base game in the January sale on a whim, and it's been quite a big part of my life ever since. So I missed out on a lot of the stuff in the middle and sort of have joined late, and even Sims 4 is like, it'll be 11 years old this year.
Wow.
So it's been going a while. People keep saying, when are they bringing Sims 5 out? But because I guess computer specs have plateaued perhaps a little bit, and there's still increasing numbers playing Sims 4, that's not going to happen anytime soon. But no, having, I guess, not played computer games significantly for most of my adult life and then come to it, I found it fascinating, because it's not something a lot of people really talk about. You get together with friends and discuss your hobbies. You get the feeling people don't want to know about the imaginary people that live in your computer. But I sort of think computer games in all their forms are, just as valid as any other. In fact, it can be a much more creative pursuit than sitting watching TV.
Go on then, Matt.
No, all I was going to say is I've often wondered, because I remember playing Sims way back when, and I would like to do a bit of a poll to see whether people have kind of, if they're able to kind of dredge up their original save game files and see sort of the house that they were in, the kind of character that they were in. Was it aspirational, or is it completely wildly different to where you kind of ended up here, whether you had a house or not?
I mean, that's the fun thing about Sims in a way, because you can play realistically. You can build your dream house or the house you actually own, or you can just go completely wild, Like the current Sims family I play a lot of the time, they're balancing running a business with having 3 kids and trying to keep their marriage going. But one of the main hazards she faces when going to work is that she keeps going and getting eaten by the ghost cow plant down the road, and then being miserable all day. And this isn't a problem real people have,
I mean, we can't make that judgment there, Lizzie. I think that's a little bit harsh.
You just don't know.
No, but thank you. So you're currently playing it. How many kind of, how is it the household still? How many kind of plots have you kind of got active?
I like something called legacy play, which is where you keep a family for a number of generations. And the save I'm playing in now is relatively new, so there's only really one family that I've played. But then over time, as they have children and some of the children become unplayed and they make friends, it can sort of spread out. One save, there are an awful lot of Sims I played before I moved on from that save. And some people rotate between a number of different households, which I have tried at some stage, like with different parts of a family, to try and keep.
I mean, I feel as if we're talking about Sims, and I feel as if I need to ask this other question as well. Of are there times when the deep dark thoughts take over, and you kind of lock people into, You take it, remove a wall.
Only you do this.
Removing the ladder.
Yeah,
I don't
people do
tend to.
this.
In fact, it's interesting the way Sims reflects real life, because conflict isn't something that comes naturally to me, which is something I can find hard in fiction writing. It can be hard being mean to people, but this is one way the Sims, like a lot of the inbuilt features that they continue adding, can help, because they just add chaos to it and can make it a bit easier to be less nice. Like the Love Stroke expansion pack, which added romantic satisfaction, which sounds lovely, but it means if your Sims slightly neglect their relationship, their other half can start demanding a divorce, so it keeps you more on your toes with things. And I did specifically set up a save to make a Sim who was not nice and was going to pursue more evil things, because it's something that I tend to neglect. And it's fun to explore and just break all the
The
rules
neglected
sometimes.
evil in the world.
I think there's like something like, I think it was like in Sims 3, you could have it so you were a career thief, but also ran a business, so you could steal everything, then put it up for sale in your own shop, and people would come and buy their stuff back as a profit for you.
Yep. I mean, the latest expansion pack was about businesses, and I have seen someone basically setting up something just like that on a live stream. I mean, the Sims are doing really well at things that are very open-ended at the moment, so you can run basically any sort of business. So I saw someone on Blue Sky, they literally had a platform with 3 chairs, and we're charging other Sims to sit and talk to each other, and it was going quite well, because Sims will do that.
So is this? Sorry, I want to check this question. Sorry, is that in real life that people are making money from getting their Sims to talk to it, or is it in
Well,
game?
no, their Sims are making money. Their Sims are making
Their
money.
Sims. Okay, just wanted to check. Just so I'd clarify.
And I think it's important to say a little bit for Mark, for those that haven't played Sims for ages. Like the last 2 Sims games, they've actually, as PC powers got better and could handle more things, they actually had it so all your neighborhoods, if you click the option, can naturally age up at the same time. Whereas like back in the day, you stuck with one family for back in the day, one family, all the generations, and then it's like, oh, you're marrying your great grandfather's sister, but that's fine because there's enough degrees of separation there.
There isn't. No, actually, technically, your DNA transforms, isn't it? I think it's after 4 generations, you'll no longer have any of the same DNA, which is ridiculous in some respects. But let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Slight tangent.
Yes.
But speaking of rabbit holes,
there's the distinction between so if your Sim has a job, you can either go with them and the job becomes part of the gameplay, or they just disappear off.
Yeah.
And in a way that can be useful, because if you have a big family, that means you don't have to worry about them for 8 hours. But then if you've only got one Sim, it's really boring. And they have the sort of in-between option, which is a work from home job, where they have a number of tasks to do that can work around other things.
So if your one Sim goes to work, can you literally just then be waiting for it to return?
You're just fast forwarding, waiting for them to come back.
Oh, you can fast forward.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Phew. Real time.
And
waiting.
so is that your preferred way of playing Sims? So, I mean, I've got a 16-year-old. We just put in the cheat. Suddenly has 1 million simoleons, and we'll just spend the day building beautiful
I do
houses,
enjoy
beautiful
building.
gardens.
I like building things rather than just pretty things in a way. I like building things with gameplay value. So I made a pub with a function room on the top. So they have sort of different types of spaces to have wedding and things, or somewhere they can go to meet people. Or like I made a residential rental. So that's something where you can have more than one lot on the same house. So you can make a terrace, or you can make an apartment building. So it's basically an old mansion that's been converted for spellcasters, people who do magic, with like a greenhouse at the back with all the potion ingredients and things. So it's like a community for magic users. When I'm playing, I do the exact opposite to that. I like to start in a sort of rags to riches way. I'll buy them a lot and take all their money away, and they have to start from scratch. So they start by foraging or by fishing and things like that to then get enough money to then maybe make something like paintings and sell them. And you're not allowed a job until you've actually saved up for a house of some sort.
Have you tried the 1 room challenge?
I haven't.
Is that where you live in a room?
Oh, no, that's one where you have a 1 square room, you have no money, and your Sim has to find a way to earn money without leaving that one square room. But for every 500 simoleons that you earn, you can expand the room out 1 square. So you can.
This sounds like Ryanair, isn't it?
But like, it's like you can start. So you can start like building out slowly. So you can get enough to get like you can get a bed in there. You can get a shower. You can get a fridge. If you get to the point where you can get 2 rooms, you can have it segregated off a little bit. You can get to a point where if you've earned 20,000, you can actually put a door in. But then the whole of the lot has to be fenced off, so you can't leave the lot either.
I don't. How do you make money in a room in Sims?
Selfies. Literally, selling selfies.
Taking photos with your phone and selling them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you are allowed to buy stuff, you can get tablets you can use to make pictures.
Yeah,
and things.
you start
Like a
buying
digital
what you can and stuff like that. Yeah.
So is this the 1 room challenge? Sorry, I'm trying to get my head around this. Is that something that you are enforcing yourself, or is there like a 1 room challenge mode?
There's a lot of different challenges out there with rules that people have written, and you can pick how strict you are. So when I do Rags to Riches, I don't tend to follow the rules because it doesn't necessarily help me, but some people like it. There's other things. There's a really famous one called Not So Berry, where each generation has a colour that's like after a different berry, and there's particular things you have to achieve with each generation. So. For example, there's lots of different challenges out there.
There's a really good one. It's the 100 baby challenge.
Yeah, yes, that is very popular, which does involve like changing some things beyond how the game is normally set up. But yeah.
Oh,
You see, I just build. I think I'm starting to reflect on what this says about me. I'm not sure I want to interact with people when I'm.
I mean, building it is a big stress. It is a big stress reliever. Building, just taking that blank canvas and just building, whether it's for your Sims or for sharing or just out of your own head.
Yeah. And there's a lot of crossover between. Sorry, carry on.
It's one of the good things about The Sims is there's so many ways to play. Some people never get near live mode; they're just building all the time. Other people spend their whole time in creator sim making outfits. And get really into the fashion side, and other people aren't interested in either of these, and just get playing, which is why it's such a fascinating community. And the community side is another thing I like about Sims, and it's a good illustration of, I guess, what community means in general, because there's a lot of people who, some of them it's their day job, some of them are content creators, but a lot of people put in a lot of time providing information and resources and education, explaining how to use mods. If you have mods, when there's an update, you need to take them out. Yes, it is broken because you didn't take them out. And then you see other people who come in a more consumeristic fashion, using some of this information, not stopping long enough to actually engage properly and learn from it, if that makes sense, and take the time to be a good community member. So it's a good illustration of community. Sims has been inclusive from the word go. So that it's.
I remember years ago in Sims 2, I remember like watching a video like how to actually build a basement before you have the basement tools in, and like I could still remember like the having to use the terrain modifier to put it down exactly 12 clicks and then like reduce it out. So that's how you know how tall the wall has to be, so you can actually put the basement down there. And then once I learned that, I remember I showed it to a couple of friends who were also playing at the same time, and they were like, "This is game changing."
Do you? Oh, go on.
No, go on.
All I was going to say is then, do you find that this helps you see differently in the real world, or does it kind of just give you an opportunity to communicate with people in the same community, or does it kind of allow you to see things differently in the real world around us?
I mean, I definitely have learned a lot from The Sims. They introduce accessibility things, new packs about different cultures, which you can generally, even if it's just they introduce a new pack and you want to learn the building style. So I'm sat there researching Japanese architecture, and then they introduce new accessibility things, like when they introduced binders and top surgery scars. People were sharing about, this isn't necessarily realistic because you don't wear a binder all the time, and then you learn some things. And then people get upset because The Sims has gone all woke, and you have to point out to them that it's only become possible to be straight in The Sims, because Sims are pansexual by default. They're not picky. But no, I mean, I like the community. I like the fact that it's something, depending on how you're feeling, you can either play it safe and just go for things that feel comfortable, or you can get out your comfort zone and learn and make a Sim who's not like you. I love the fact that you see posts on Twitter or Reddit saying, I've made a modest, like a hijabi Sim. Have I got it right? Here's their outfits and the way you can learn from each other. But then you can just go completely wild. Like my 10-year-old is just building everything pink at the moment. Every part of the building. You can just do things exactly as you fancy.
Yeah.
And I think people underestimate the way that you can learn from something that seems like a frivolous computer game. Some people produce architectural wonders, in Sims build mode that are like mirrors of real architecture. There's just,
there are some really
So
clever
much you can-
people, and there's stuff you can import as well. I think I spent far too long finding different packs to then import into the Sims that content creators unconnected had created so that you can import it. And that's where the crossover with Second Life in the Sims is in the fashion and the builds, is that there's a crossover between content creators, which is lovely to see. Some of my favorite hair you can get in both Second Life and the Sims.
A lot of the people who make custom content for The Sims, so unofficial, like modded content that you add in a way, often the trailblazers. So the Black Sims community, a lot of whom produce custom content, have then led to things that EA have put in game officially, because they campaign for things to be really in game. People make things as mods and custom content, and sometimes they are in fact invited. So at one point they added a load of more natural black hairs that have been that have been created by a Black Sims creator. So it's not like the unofficial stuff. Unofficial mods and content creation are very much still part of the community, and something that's
which is great.
Because there isn't really something like The Sims that's either lasted this long or been so impactful in communities anyway. What are your thoughts on Inzio, which is the quote unquote rival to The Sims that's just been released? It's like the hyper realistic Sims, effectively. That's just been Inzio.
I missed part of that, I think, Ray.
Oh yeah. So there's a new game coming out called Inzio, which is basically What are your thoughts on that?
I do struggle with it a bit. It seems a bit too uncanny valley for me. I'm much more interested in Paralives, which is another more cartoony one. But I'd have to see what the gameplay is actually like for either of them, really, because it's so hard comparing something that is in very early stages with something that has been going for a decade and has a lot of expansion. So I'm interested to see where they go with it. Aesthetics wise, I'm not sure that Indie is necessarily my cup of tea, but I'll still be interested to see what they do with it.
Like, it's one of those ones I looked at, like, I think, like, over the years, like, I love the idea, like, me, I'm the kind of player that I will, do the create character, and I will build a basic house and it's like do all the families and all the generations through it. But I won't be it's one of those things where, like, I will do the same kind of thing in other games. Like, if you give me a game with a create a character mode, I will stay there and I will do the most intricate character possible. Then just not see what they look like, because it's a first-person game, so you never see what they look like, kind of thing. But
it's just it hit a milestone because it's reached the most followers on stream ahead of its release date of any game.
Well, I know some people are concerned that some of the features use AI as well. I know that only sounds like an optional feature, but I know that's causing some concern. But what I love about The Sims is the way it mixes the realistic side with the less realistic. So you make a Sim, you put them in an outfit like yours, you get them a job as an assistant to the Grim Reaper,
What do you mean unrealistic? So yeah, I guess, does this sorry, just trying to bring in a little bit of the faith element of this, does this kind of play into this idea of kind of creator and kind of creative, is there something here that we find fulfilling or kind of helpful to ponder about how we become pro creating, I don't know,
literally sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, how do we treat video games as differently from fiction? Is The Sims any more or less playing God than writing or reading fiction? It's a different way of exploring narrative, I guess. And another interesting fact about religion in The Sims is that there are proto-religious things in The Sims. You can go to a ceremony on like festivals if you have seasons pack. If you build a church, it would just be used for rites of passage, so you can have a funeral or a wedding that look a lot like Christian ones, but without actually bringing religion into it. I think it's interesting how a game that's trying to appeal to everyone tries to put in things to have Christian representation without actually properly bringing religion into the game, if that makes sense. There are other, things available for other religions and cultures as well. But yeah, let's just make it so that you can make it anything.
Is that how you made your function room above your pub or whatever? Because I was trying to work out how.
They have a wedding arch to get married. That's more like a civil ceremony. I've made a church as well, so it has a lectern so that you can give a funeral eulogy. It has a wedding arch. I find it fascinating seeing these things in real life because they have them in America, and I'm just like, but they're in The Sims. But that's it's but it would never be used for Sunday services unless you mocked something up. The religion doesn't as such, but it's designed so you can play that in if you want to. But it's how so many things sort of avoid explicitly entering it into the conversation.
And so that's interesting that you've seen something that you've done in The Sims and then see something in America and going, oh yeah, this is weird because I've seen it in The Sims.
Yeah, so I've only ever really seen them in Sims, but I know that because Lil Simsy, who's a very famous simmer who's been streaming and doing YouTube videos since she was in high school, has recently got married, and then her wedding video on YouTube, and it's just so weird seeing the arch because I know that they're probably quite normal in America, but here we learn about them through The Sims, or anyway.
I'd really like that idea of community, that you're kind of engaged with a fellow sim. Oh gosh, what is the term? A fellow simmer. Thank you. And that you're engaged with them. That you've recognise that they've got married and things like that, which I guess works with a lot of fandom really, but that's quite sweet.
I mean, she's a more famous one, but in the community you can sort of build relationships on every level. It's a very supportive community and an inclusive one, while in a loose online community there aren't standards of behaviour, there are definitely things that wouldn't be tolerated.
And why is that? Because inclusion and community have come up a couple of times. Why is that something that you're drawn to?
I mean, people have always been something that fascinates me. I enjoy history. The history I enjoy is social history. I enjoy psychology and what makes people tick. And I read murder mysteries, so anything that involves playing with people rather than anything more less sort of people-based, like other forms of computer games, is something that interests me.
Interesting.
And of course, inclusion is important to me in other ways, and it's always been a part of what The Sims is. Not that they've always got it right.
When have they got it wrong?
Well, one of the first black textured hairs to be in the game has been compared unfavorably to a cauliflower. They have done a lot better since, but they're not always where people want them to be. But they're always working on stuff and adding new things. So
I think the current iteration of The Sims is, I think, got the most amount of expansion packs, stuff packs,
mermaids.
There's an additional pack that I don't remember the name of because it came out years ago. Because it used to be just expansion packs, then there's expansion packs and like themed stuff packs. Now there's another subgenre within that again.
Do I remember somewhere that they're going to do a film as well, or is that
there is going to be a film? Yes,
Margot Robbie.
Oh,
yes.
Cool.
So there's not a lot of details. I'm really hoping that they add in plenty of things that appeal to the community, plenty of those little in jokes. That should be interesting to see what they do with that.
I personally really want them to have Katy Perry appearing on it, so she could relive the Simlish versions of her classics.
She did an expansion pack that was based around sweets.
Yes, Sims 2 Apartment Life, and the advert was her basically performing and recreating one of her videos in the game as well.
Yeah, there are quite a few real songs that have made the game in Simlish, some of them recorded by the original artists.
Oh wow,
that's quite cool.
And in the original Sims, there was a project called a Sims Superstar, I believe. They had celebrities making actual cameos. So you could meet Drew Carey, you could meet Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar.
as well as they were going down.
And
this
that's
track
how
of stardom.
old The Sims is.
But that's the longevity of it, isn't it? Really, I guess that they are
Yeah.
prepared to put out the packs, be diverse, be inclusive, because it extends your audience, doesn't it, or in your customer base.
Yeah.
So I'm aware that it's nearly 5 to 9, so we need to start to wrap things up a little. I will kind of lead us on from Sims. Thank you, Lizzie, for
Thank you.
leading
That's
our
lovely.
conversation in that. There is a little thing from Lydia here saying Lizzie recommended an excellent book called The History of Cheese. Would you like to make a comment on that before I drop it off the screen?
I don't remember the details of it, but that's the sort of thing I enjoy. The history that you don't learn in school that sort of affects everyday people. I read another book about the history of money, and it was just so many things. I was like, why don't we learn this? Because it's just fascinating, and it's why the world is the way it is.
I do want to know what the history of cheese is now.
I think that might be for another episode rather than the.
I think as we discussed briefly the weekend, we probably need to have like a number of food related episodes, because I think we have some very strong opinions on food here that we've like scratched the surface off.
Yes.
We've only just dipped into the pickle.
Really?
I thought I'd broaden it rather than just the chutney. Anyway, shall we move on to Geeky Gallery before we don't. Geeky Gallery comes up. We have Tom Mendip talking about his Kickstarter, this time a physical heretical legion and new Antioch starter warbands from Trench Crusade. The hard copy of the rules won't arrive until summer. Thought they'd free to download, though to be honest I'm unlikely to get painted up until after they move anyway. Then Rev, who I think is new to the community.
Yes, Tim.
It's Tim
from last week.
Oh, yes, of course it is. Sorry.
Click, and he's back in the game.
Well, this is the thing with the different names you see, and I never know whether to call people by their kind of Discord names.
Because it's Revin, like a motorbike. Revin, Rev. Yeah.
You see, yes, okay. So Rev has shared this Lego build of Lord of the Rings, the city of, is it Gondor?
It's Minas Tirith, City of Gondor.
So something to do with the Goonies or something, I don't know.
Although that trailer did come out this week.
The Goonies too?
No. The Sean Astin playing with all the Lego minifigs and Lord of the Rings settings. Yeah,
we mentioned it in the Discord. So that's another thing in the Discord. And that's what I was referencing. There's a couple of my things today. I've been looking at cosplay with some LED light eye kind of things for cosplay props.
You're going to be Wally?
I cannot say. Really? I don't think so. Wally. No. I also went into Easter and saw the Easter animals, which I just thought was a little bit interesting with pigs and cows. And I was like, they're definitely animals, but I wouldn't associate a cow and a pig with Easter.
It's spring. Baby pigs and baby cows.
Yeah, I was just a bit unsure. I was thinking
Easter Sunday roast dinner.
Lamb.
That's supposed to be lamb, isn't it?
Yeah. Rabbit.
Non-meat
we don't do that
versions
either,
of
do
this
we?
meal are available.
Lydia, yes, we did cow again. But again, Frisian cows and pigs, maybe not kind of the most known for being on the Jerusalem hillside over Easter. That being said, broader than that. Anyway, let's move on. I've also been doing a little bit of priming of little characters just to practice a bit of my painting, and I thought I'd share and this is what Tim referenced earlier, or was it Becca? A fuggler. I don't know if it's fun and ugly, little kind of creepy, lovely kind of stuffed toy with button eyes, a button on its butt as well, and what I can only describe as like realistic looking and feeling teeth in its mouth, and usually only kind of a few, or some at the top, some at the bottom, or in some cases maybe one on the top and two on the bottom. They're really weird, but my daughter has really dived into them in a big way, and she celebrated her birthday earlier on.
It looks like they're cosplaying as Rocky from the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
They're definitely interesting, and but she loves them, and they are kind of like sometimes a bit creepy. We've kind of got one at Christmas that I would just describe as drunk Santa one, and suspiciously on something elf. They're really weird. Anyway, I'll move on. Mentup again is talking about his Sunday service and about Later Sunday, and he goes into the Discord about what exactly that means. But he's wearing pinkish, peachish kind of trainers to reference that. And then there's one from Lydia as well. Guess what? With more cows. So that's our third or fourth reference to that, which I quite like the reference of the Lego that she's shared there, because that is the Space Police from the early 90s as a head for the police, for the cow in the scene.
That was the Lego bit of April Fool's news that I saw earlier as well. The original Lego minifigs as the April Fool. I'm assuming this is April Fool's. Please, someone correct me. When it's me like real hair.
Yeah.
So
and that was just reminding me as well of actually real news that they've released a Vitiligo set for
nice
minifigs, which I think is
well
really
done,
good.
Lego.
That's another one of those things that was campaigned for in The Sims.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah,
it's something I don't always talk about.
Did the Sims also add? They added hearing aids in, like within the last.
Hearing aids and other medical wearables, so like glucose monitors, things like that.
I think Lego has also done that with the hearing aids as well. So that's all really good. So I think that is the end of Geeky Gallery. Yeah, again, I keep on adding the sound effects. I don't know why.
We need like a sound effects board that we can just fill with random sound effects.
Yes.
There you go.
Life is too complicated, Tim.
Yeah, that's true.
Becca, is there any final last words before we say farewell?
I think it's something around inclusion. I think from the beginning of Faith and Geekery, when there were more of us starting to talk about it and saying, what does it mean to be a community people that self-identifies as geeks, that we wanted it to be as inclusive as possible. And I think what Sims shows and what Lego shows is there is no limit to how inclusive you can be. You just have to use your imagination and then lean in the community. And I think there's almost no excuse to not include. So I think, the power of community people and the power of listening to what people want. If the Sims can do it, if Lego can do it, then we have no excuse. Amen.
On that note, thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.